All right. Hello. Welcome, everybody. I'm Todd Bohannon, educator here on the Grouper Moon Project. Welcome to our second live stream of 2026. Just to tell you a little bit about me, I'm a teacher in the US in Seattle, and I've been coming out to Little Cayman for the last 15 years working as an educator on the Grouper Moon Project. And it's so awesome to see all of you here joining us today. I'm going to pull some of you up on the screen just because it's fun. Here we go. If you turn your cameras on, then you'll be famous on the internet. All right. Well, welcome everyone. It's awesome to see you. If you see on the right of your screen, there's a couple of tabs. One of them is private chat. If you have any issues, you can type in the private chat any questions and I can help you there. While we're doing the live stream, keep your mics on mute. And then at the end, we'll open it up to questions and comments. All right, let's get started. Okay, so the full moon was Sunday, and as you guys know, the Nassau typically spawns between 3 and 10 days after the full moon. So spawning can happen anytime. And DOE and reef researchers have been out on the spag just this morning and just literally walked back into the house from diving on the aggregation. And I'm excited to introduce you guys to all of them and so they can share with you their experience. And yeah, the first person we're going to invite is Dr. Bryce Simmons. Hi, Bryce.
Hi, everybody.
All right. Hi. Okay, let's get you front and center. So before we get into what's going on out there, could you explain to everyone who you are and what your role is on the project?
Sure. My name is Bryce Simmons. I am a professor at Scripps Institution of Oceanography, which is in UC San Diego, University of California, San Diego, of course, San Diego, California, which is very far, of course, from here. But I've been participating in this project for the past 25 years, more or less. 24 years, and I play one of the leadership roles of the project. So I help to coordinate the research, work with scientists at the Department of Environment and scientists with Reef. And one of the cool things about the Grouper Moon Project is it's not just one institution that runs things, it's a big cooperative. We all work together between the Department of Environment, between the Reef Environmental Education Foundation, and also between academic partners like myself.
Sure. That's so amazing. How long have you been working on this project?
Yeah, about 24, 25 years,
Wow.
Which is a long time, probably a lot longer than some of you might have been alive, actually.
For sure.
Which is
all of you.
Yeah, so I've been around long enough to see some really remarkable changes, not only in the number of fish that are out at that aggregation site, but also in a lot of the technologies that we use in order to monitor that population through time. Now, remember, like 25 years, well, you're not going to remember.
No, you won't remember this.
25 years ago, there were no such thing as digital cameras. We didn't have those. So
you had film cameras.
Yeah, we had film cameras that we would take down with us. We would literally put a tape into the camera, close it up, and you only had about 60 minutes on that tape before you had to swap it out. Of course, nowadays we have these like tiny little GoPro cameras, which you probably are all familiar with.
Right.
And the quality of the image that you get from those compared to what we used to get is just remarkable. It's miles above. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're interested, you can go on to Reef's YouTube page, and on the live streams, we have the live streams posted there from all the previous years, and you can really see a dramatic increase in the quality of the, when we first started filming underwater, it was fairly pixelated and kind of dark. And now we have these great high res 4K images coming off of the spag.
Right. Which is part of why we're now able to do things like you probably talked with them about facial marker capture.
We haven't actually talked about that. Okay. But first,
yeah.
So today we've got a lot of high schoolers on here from Cayman Prep. You guys, it's awesome to see you. Welcome. Bryce, can you tell us what's been happening out there on the aggregation so far?
Yeah, so this year has been a little bit interesting, as you probably all know, because you're here. It's cold. right? Really, really cold. And so we had a big storm and cold front move through here, and that's as a consequence that's kicked up a lot of wind and waves and stormy conditions on the water.
So how does that affect the research?
It makes it really hard for us to get out to the aggregation site because where these fish spawn tends to be at a place that you would typically not dive. It's very exposed. So when any big wave event, big storms come through, it tends to make it very difficult to get out to that very exposed site because the sea state, the size of the waves, are not conducive to us being able to use boat operations safely out there. So we've had to sort of intermittently cancel dives. We actually lost a couple of whole days where we weren't able to get out because of this big storm that just blew through. So today, this morning, is the first time we got out in the better part of 2 days now. Yeah.
You know, I had a student ask yesterday, are these conditions affecting the Nassau in any way? And what have you noticed?
Well, so that's a great question. So where they are, they're really not feeling a lot of the wind and waves because they're down at around, let's say, 90 to 100 feet, maybe 25, 30 meters. And
let's show everyone what that looks like really quick.
Yeah.
So here's a clip that was taken on the first day out there.
Right. So here's a great example of where it looks calm, right? Everything looks like kosher. There's no no
problem.
They look like they're not experiencing anything. Above, the boat is doing this. Right. It's all over the place. And so the sea state can be really rough for us when we pull up and we're trying to get a hold of that mooring. But once you're underwater and you're reasonably deep, it's not too rough. With the exception that typically with big storm events comes lots of current.
So you went out this morning for the first time in a couple of days.
Yeah.
What did you guys see?
There was a lot of current.
Really?
Yeah. So we were in roughly 6 to 8 foot seas.
Wow.
Like some big 8
Pretty
foot
big.
rollers. That's pretty big. That's bigger than a normal dive boat would go out in.
Sure.
But once we moored up and we got under the water, the underwater conditions were quite nice, except that there was quite a bit of current. And when there's quite a bit of current, it's really challenging unless you have things like scooters, which are basically like jetpacks underwater. It's challenging to get to where the fish are. Now the fish, they're adapted to this. Right?
So in this video that was taken the first day you guys were here, this was a few days ago.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like there's any current at all.
Well, the fish are really good at making it look like there's not current.
Okay.
They're built for that.
Okay.
Right? There is quite a bit of current even on this dive.
Really?
But not as much as today. Today was
more.
quite currenty, yeah.
And so has that affected them in any way, made them move around?
The one thing they do with current is even though they're quite adapted to dealing with current, and to us is a lot of current, to them is like not that big of a deal, but they still want to hold on to their energy because they need to save their energy for the big show, for spawning.
So they need to rest.
And so they'll hunker down on the reef and they'll get amongst the coral and amongst the sea fans. They'll get out of that current. And so you'll basically see a carpet of fish that are just all over the bottom, lying around, kind of leaning. And that serves two purposes. It gets them out of the current, but also a lot of those fish are getting cleaned by little gobies and shrimp while they're down there. So they're getting a little freebie car wash.
So that's what you saw this morning.
Mm-hmm.
How many fish did you see down there?
I'd guess probably maybe 2,000 or 3,000.
Okay.
It's kind of hard to even coarsely estimate when they're all hunkered down like that.
Sure.
Because you guys have seen, right, they're that barred pattern normally. Well, that's the kind of pattern they go into when they're on the reef. And they do that because it's camouflage. It helps them to blend into the reef. And so when you're a diver, it's easy for you to miss most of the fish because they're so well camouflaged.
Well, in this video, we see them in different colors. Is that because they're trying to blend in, or is that for a different reason?
There's a couple of things probably going on there. One is that they take on either like a tuxedo color, a black and white color, or all black when they're up in the water column. And we think that's mostly reproductive signaling, meaning that they're kind of letting other fish know, hey, I'm kind of thinking about spawning. How about you?
So they're communicating.
They're communicating with their colors.
Wow.
What's really cool is you see the white fish there versus the black fish.
Right.
You might think that it's a white fish. It's always a white fish. They can change from white to black in 30 seconds.
Like an octopus.
Like an octopus. They can change their color very quickly. You wouldn't think it because they're fish, but they're very, very capable and flexible of their colors. And so why they're white and black in the water column has something to do with signaling, but also generally the more up in the water column they are, they'll typically go whitish, more white. And it's because they're camouflaging
Backlight.
against the sun.
Okay.
Yeah, against the white of the background. If you ever been underwater and you look up and the sky just looks white, well, so it's good to go to that color if you're up in the water column if you don't want to get eaten by like a shark, which we saw a couple sharks out there. We almost always see sharks these days at the aggregation site.
Has that always been that way?
No. Now, yeah, over time, we've seen more and more sharks at the aggregation site. And I think that's probably both because Department of Environment has done a good job of recovering sharks in addition to grouper. But also, as you get more and more grouper at an aggregation site, it's more and more of an attractive place to go get a meal, right? So as you get this bigger amount of fish all showing up in one place, it attracts more predators to it.
So is that bad?
No, I mean it's part of a healthy ecosystem.
So it's a good sign.
Yeah, it's very good. It's everything at the top of the ecosystem flows downhill, right? So those top predators are really important to structuring how reefs work, how ecosystems function. And when we skim off the top, those top predators, there's a really good chance you're going to break parts of that ecosystem.
Okay.
Conversely, on the other hand, as you rebuild those large predators, that top of the food pyramid, you're introducing back that structuring force, which is really important to healthy ecosystems. And that's why grouper are important. That's also why sharks are important.
That's amazing. I wanted to talk two other things. I want to hear a little bit about your story, how you got here, but also what are some of the big changes that are happening this year on the project? I know in the past we've always done tagging of the fish in order to count them, and students are always asking, how do you count the fish?
Yeah.
And can you talk a little bit about the strategies that you've used, the technologies that we've used, and how that's progressed over time?
Yeah. So we talked about tagging before, and you guys have read about that. And we for a long time, for well over 10 years, we've been doing tagging work. And the way that that's happened in the past is we take a little what we call a spaghetti tag, and it looks like monofilament with like a colored coating on it. So it looks like a piece of spaghetti, but at different colors. We use different colors each year.
Bright colors that are easy to see. Right?
Easy to see. Yeah. So yellows, oranges, pinks, and then at the base of that is just basically a little dart. And we implant that or plug that into the back of a fish. We call it giving them jewelry. And we do that to a very small number of the fish at the aggregation site. So maybe, let's say, 100 fish, we put these tags in.
Okay.
And then we send our divers down to count 100 fish at a time. Do 100 fish over and over and over again. So you go find a patch of fish, you count each one of them till you get to 100, and you keep track of how many of those that you counted had tags. And we do that over and over and over again. Each diver does multiple counts of 100 fish. And over the course of 5 days, we get many, many counts of 100.
Okay.
Now, let's say on average, 10 out of those 100 that we count, on average, that's how many we're getting in our counts.
Okay.
So what we can say with that is that, well, if 10 out of 100 fish have tags on average, it must be the case that we've tagged 10% of the population.
Sure.
Right. And so if we know we've tagged 10% of the population and we've put 100 tags out, well, that must mean that 100 is 10% of the population. And if that's true, that must mean that the population is 1,000.
Right.
So it's a little bit of math, but not complicated, right? That's what's called a Lincoln-Peterson estimator. It's a marker capture tool, math tool that we use in order to estimate a population size. So that's how we've done it year over year.
Right.
The challenge with it is it's hard to do the tagging, and we worry a little bit that those tags have consequences. So
sure, it's a little invasive.
It's invasive. Every time, it's even like if you've ever got your ear pierced, there's a chance you're going to get it infected.
Sure,
right? It's the same thing with putting a tag in the back of a fish. And so can we do better?
Right.
And it turns out we can, because like we talked about at the beginning, we've got much better camera tools than we used to.
Okay.
To give much higher resolution. Like your phone, you probably all have phones that you can look at and they open up.
Right.
Right. And the reason they do that is because they recognize your face, your distinct features of your face. So that facial recognition tool that you use on your cell phone, we can use the same thing on fish. It turns out that these Nassau grouper, they have patterns on their sides that are consistent across their whole lives. So like you and me, Bob the fish looks very different than Steve the fish. Todd looks very different than I do. And we can use their individual patterns in order to keep track of them by reciting them, reseeing them year over year. So yeah, so this is a great example here. This is the same fish, you guys. So if you spend a little bit of time looking at this,
So look closely.
that first fish
On
the
top.
top was seen in 2013. 7 years later, in 2019, we see this same fish. And if you start to hone in or zoom in on some of those little dots, right? I don't know. Can I, if I do marker or pointers, can they
It
see
won't,
my?
no.
Okay. Well,
You can see that there's 2 red dots on each of those fish if you look closely.
yeah.
Right?
Now, those dots are important too, because in addition to the unique markings on these fish,
right.
which allow us to keep track of the same individual, those laser dots, those 2 laser dots, are part of another tool that we use here, which is a laser caliper system. And we know those dots are exactly 20 centimeters apart.
Okay.
And if we know those dots are 27 centimeters apart, then we can estimate the full size of the fish as long as we can find its nose and tail.
So you can find the same fish just by looking at the pattern, and you can also see how much it's grown.
Exactly. Yeah. So once we move to is it tagged yes or no, which doesn't tell us anything about individuals, to this facial pattern recognition, now we can keep track of individual fish like Bob or Sarah or Joe. And because of that, we can estimate things like individual growth rates, how many times, over how many months a fish might visit, how long, over how many days it stays, and does that change as a function of how big they are? These are all interesting and important questions we couldn't previously answer, but now with this marker capture, this facial recognition, we can.
Now, do you think that your counts, the official counts of the aggregation, are going to change as you've moved from the Floyd tag strategy to this facial recognition strategy? In my mind, it seems like the facial recognition would be more accurate, less likely to recount a fish or something like that.
It will ultimately, it will be much more accurate, because now instead of only tagging 100 fish, we can, us divers going down with a good quality GoPro camera, we can get maybe 100 individual fish faces every dive. And over the course of an aggregation season, as long as we're able to get in the water regularly, we can get thousands and thousands of faces. So we get way more data.
Wow.
And once we put all of that into a population model, we can do marker capture. Did we see the same fish year over year? But we can also estimate things like growth rates, mortality rates, like how likely it is for one individual to die from one year to the next. All of these important questions to do population estimation well.
Now, could you tell everyone, you've been working on this for a long time. You're now a professor at Scripps. What if some of these students are thinking, marine biology is for me? This is something I'm interested in. Can you tell everyone kind of what your pathway was to getting here?
Sure.
How did you get interested, and what were the steps that you took?
Yeah, so like you, I was once young. And I was interested in marine biology from a pretty young age. I'd say, maybe 10 years old. We grew up going to the Florida Keys and diving on Caribbean reefs.
Wow.
And so it was my experience all growing up to be out on Caribbean reefs like here. And so I really enjoyed that. And I decided from a young age that this is what I wanted to do. And so all of my education, I kind of focused on that. I did my undergraduate degree in wildlife and fisheries down in Texas at Texas A&M, and then I did a degree in environmental science and management at Santa Barbara to get my master's, and then I did a PhD in fisheries up at the University of Washington. So I kind of kept doing more and more education, which allowed me to continue to get involved in marine science. And in fact, when I first started in this project, I was still a PhD student up at Washington, in the University of Washington. So
there's some video of you guys putting tags into the fish's bellies.
Yeah.
And you look quite young in those videos. Is that from back then, in that time?
That was from like 2005, so that's 21 years ago. Yeah.
Wow.
It's a while ago.
So after you got your PhD, how did you get involved in Grouper Moon?
Well, so the Reef Environmental Education Foundation, I'd been involved with Reef, so that's this nonprofit. I've been involved with reefs since my undergraduate days.
Okay.
I'd helped to develop some of the fish monitoring protocols that Reef uses. And I'd stayed involved with them ever since. I thought they were an amazing nonprofit. They were the only, and I think still are, one of the only nonprofits that really focuses specifically on divers and citizen science. So making use of divers to collect information that's useful for marine resource management. To me, that was really cool. And so I stayed involved with Reef. And Reef actually started with Department of Environment, the Grouper Moon project, back in 2001.
Okay.
Reef happened to be running a field survey project where they had some citizen science down to just do fish monitoring the same year that aggregation was discovered.
When you say that citizen science and doing field monitoring, what does that mean? What are they doing?
Well, really what they're doing is they're going to dive sites all around the island just like a recreational diver would do.
Okay.
And the only difference is while they're doing the recreational dive, they're writing down every single species of fish that they can positively identify and then keeping track of relative abundance. So did I see a single or a few or many or abundant individuals?
Okay.
And they write down all of that down and then they submit that to a central database. Back then, that was on scan forms, right?
Not on computer.
Not on computers.
Wow. Wow.
But nowadays you can do all of that online.
Online.
And so, but that database, even for the Cayman Islands, that goes back to 1993. So it is an exceptionally long-term monitoring.
Is there
data
anything
set.
else like that? Or is that pretty unique?
It's very unique, especially in the Caribbean.
And
yeah.
is that something that high school students could do if they took the class? Because I believe you can take classes online and you can get the information and you can actually go and start doing that yourself.
100%. And you don't need to be an expert to collect the data. So if you can identify a single fish, you can collect data. And we can account for levels of expertise and different amount of experience with analysis after the fact. So it doesn't matter if you don't have a ton of experience.
Okay.
Any experience at all is okay. So you got to start somewhere, we always say. So start.
And why is this important to do this work?
Because when you have many eyes in the water capturing information, you can actually usually do a lot better than just a few very skilled eyes. So take, for instance, let's say Caribbean reef sharks. Most of you here, even if you're not fish ID experts, you know what a shark is.
Right.
And you can write it down and you report it, and we're going to trust that you saw a shark if you say you saw a shark. If sharks are rare, so we have a Department of Environment, a couple of experts that are shark biologists here in the Department of Environment. They're joining us on our dives, but they're only a couple of sets of eyes, and sharks are rare. So on any given dive, how likely are they to see a shark? Probably not all that likely. But if we got a ton of you guys that are all recreational divers, citizen scientists that are in the water, and you're diving all over the place, even if you're only seeing sharks maybe 10% of the time, that's a lot of observations of sharks relative to what a professional can do.
Now, what if you're not a diver? What if you're just a snorkeler? Can you still do it?
Still, you can do it. Yep.
Really?
Yeah, there's a category for snorkeling. So, yep, you can. It's the only way you can't do it is on a glass bottom boat. That's not allowed. But snorkeling, yes.
So, before we move on to our next person, can you share a little bit? You've been here from the beginning of this project. What are some of the big changes that have happened that you've seen over time?
Well, we see a lot more fish than we used to.
How many were there when you started, do you think?
I mean, I think maybe 1,000, maybe a couple thousand.
Okay.
I mean, we have some old videos, and we look at those now, and we're like, gosh, that's not a lot of fish. At the time, it felt like a lot of fish. Because remember, you guys, this species is critically endangered. So in most places in the Caribbean, you see 1,000 of these fish. You're like, oh my goodness, that's a lot of fish. Nowadays, we see 5,000 fish, or let's say today, I think I would estimate maybe 2,000 or 3,000 fish. And of course, it's that shifting baseline, right? I'm like, that's not all that many fish.
Right.
That's a ton of fish anywhere else. I mean, even at 3,000, that's the biggest aggregation left in the Caribbean that we know of. So point is, a lot more fish nowadays than there used to be. And that's been a big change. We see a lot more sharks out there, like we talked about, than we used to, which is a big change. Technology that we use has changed, and our teams of divers. We have a lot more divers, a lot more expertise through the Department of Environment. We have a lot more scientists that participate in the project, and which has been awesome because we're bringing all kinds of different skill sets to the project. We've got Well, you'll meet some amazing DOE scientists, researchers, and captains that are all part of this project. And we bring in scientists from lots of different locations as well to help to support the science. So it's a big community effort.
I love that's probably my favorite part of this project is it really feels like a whole community, everyone working together on this.
Yeah, for sure. It's a great way to do science because you get all different perspectives.
Right.
Right. It's not just scientists kind of making up interesting but esoteric questions or questions that don't really matter for management. It's because we're Department of Environment and scientists are all working together. We're really focusing on questions that matter to improve fisheries management for the Cayman Islands. And it's been hugely successful.
Yeah, it's something that you all should be really, really proud of. And I also think that you should know that you're participating right now. You are now part of working on the Grouper Moon project. You guys are learning this information. I encourage you to go and share it with your families and your friends. And as we share that information and we get more people understanding and knowing what's going on, the more successful I think the project becomes.
For sure. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that we get the word out with bringing you guys along with us on this journey, and I think that's really important because part of doing effective management is not just enforcement and the top down, like you must not, you can't, but really as a community understanding why the resource is important, why it's protected. Hey, these creatures only spawn, they only reproduce this time of year, so maybe let's let them reproduce when it's time to reproduce if we want to have more fish to catch and more fish to see into the future. So helping everybody to understand that and getting community buy-in has been really important.
That's awesome. You guys, I'll post on the Grouper Moon blog later today some information if you're interested in doing some citizen science with reef and where you can get that information. I'll post that on the blog. Bryce, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
It was awesome to see you today. If you guys remember, tomorrow we are doing our underwater live stream and Bryce will be taking us down and looking at the fish, so you definitely want to join us for that. All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye,
you
everybody.
So much, Bryce. All right, so next up, I have Paul Chin from the DOE. He's going to come up and tell us a little bit about what he does on the project. All right, here we go. Paul.
Hey, good morning, everyone. How you doing?
How are you, Paul?
Not too bad. Nice to see you again, Todd.
So what happened today?
Well, today we went out there, finally got out for the first time in about 3 days. We had a nor'wester blowing. Wave heights were too high and too frequent. It was unsafe for our divers. So we managed to get out today. Some of the divers were able to locate the fish. The fish have shifted a little bit. They've gone a little bit more east, but we located them. And
do they do that a lot? Do they move around a lot?
They tend to move around a little bit. It seems like, from my personal opinion, it seems like with the numbers and the population sort of recovering, they're sort of reverting back to original, what I would think to be original behavior, or maybe sort of evolved behavior or learned behavior. It also could do with the currents and the direction they're going and the strength of the current. They tend to release their gametes upstream.
I see.
So there's a lot of variables that seem to affect where they're located and why they're located. And actually, as a matter of fact, after going to talk with Dr. Bryce Simmons, he actually answered a question that I wasn't able to answer up until a couple of days ago, where he said that it could be something cultural, where the fish have forgotten how to go, or have gotten to the point where if they go to a certain site, repercussions could happen, so they now move to another site. So it could just be a lot of different things that cause fish to move from where they are to move to other places.
So can you tell everyone, how did you get involved? What is your role at the DOE?
Well, my role at the DOE is I'm a research officer. I'm a scientist, so I do a lot of research, a lot of projects. It doesn't just come down to groupers. So there's groupers, there's turtles, there's lobsters, there's coral reefs. So pretty much anything in the marine environment that we do research on, I'm pretty much involved in. And it started 16 years ago.
Wow.
So I've been involved, well, officially, but I've been with the department for about 20 years as an intern straight up to where I'm at right now.
So how did that get started? What does the pathway look like? If any of our students that are here with us today are thinking maybe this is something I want to do, maybe if you could share a little bit about the steps you took along the way to getting to be here, they could see themselves doing that.
Yeah, no
right?
problem. I mean, do we have John Gray on here with us?
I believe so.
If we have any classes from John Gray, hey, how you doing, guys? I actually went to John Gray, so I sat in those seats that you guys sat in at some point. Actually, I didn't even know that I was going to do marine biology at one point. I was actually going to be a mechanical engineer. Unfortunately for me, I joined a volunteer organization that collected data for the World Wildlife Organization. And then I went underwater, saw a seahorse for the first time. That seahorse just happened to be pregnant. And then lo and behold, I found out that the pregnant seahorses are actually the males. So after that, I realized everything is upside down, and it piqued my interest. So if you guys are in high school right now and you like the ocean, I say the first sort of thing you want to do is get familiar with diving and diving profiles. Get as highly certified as you can. Get some dives under your belt. If you have access to boats, learn how boats operate, how to be on a boat, how to help out on deck with the boat.
Right.
Just whatever you can. Do the things that you love. I'm not saying that you have to go in that particular direction.
Sure.
In science, there's oceanography. There's people who study the currents and the waves and the direction and the winds and so forth. But my advice to anyone who wants to pursue anything in marine biology, just learn the different aspects or the different areas in marine biology, find out what piques your interest, and then just go for it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the project has just started. What does the day typically look like for a research assistant like you on the Grouper Moon project?
So what it entails of, we do 3 dives a day.
3
3 dives a day.
Wow.
And from my crew and my colleagues, we're only allowed to dive 2 dives out of the 3 for safety purposes.
Okay.
And just the dive tables and so forth. We just want to make sure everyone has enough time in between dives and so forth. So that would include getting everyone to the dock, getting everyone geared up, getting all the tanks in, doing a safety talk, make sure everyone knows how to handle the site, and let them know and give them the precautions and the rules and what to look forward to when they get out there. Let them know there's going to be current. Then we get in, we secure the boat, do our checks again, make sure everything is safe for everyone. So my role is just to make sure that the project runs smoothly. I've started taking a role from helping out with the project to almost spearheading it.
Yeah.
So I'm now starting to slowly take the reins of the project from a DOE standpoint and in collaboration with Reef. So it took a few years. I've been on this bag for 18 years. But,
it's a long time.
It's a long time. So I've seen it grow. I've seen it flourish. And it's definitely, it warms my heart to know that in the 18 years, I was able to help get this population from such low numbers to what
Right.
they are now.
Right. Where the number? What do we think the numbers are now?
I think last estimation was about 12 to 15,000, I believe. From what I can remember, I think
that's
number,
a lot.
That is a lot.
That's a lot from 1 or 2,000.
From 1 or 2,000, exactly. And actually, just a few years ago, Dr. Steve Giddings and I ended up going down to the BRAC, and we located the BRAC spag. After many years, we thought that the population of that was decimated as well. So they're making a recovery as well. So that's another success story on both islands.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's, I would assume, a result of the work that we've all been doing here on this project.
Yes.
I mean, I think it's really incredible I remember when I first came on the project, we had divers that would try to go out onto the BRAC. The BRACs, where they spawn there, it's quite difficult to dive.
It's quite difficult,
right?
yes.
But they were only seeing a few hundred fish back then.
Correct.
And now I remember Dr. Croy McCoy was saying last year that he thinks there's a few thousand. Fish.
No, I think we estimated the numbers to be about 2,500 to about 3,000 fish now. So and these are very big fish.
Yeah.
So big fish on both islands. So again, it's one of those success stories that if you're involved, it just lights up your day.
That's amazing.
Makes you want to get up to go to work in the mornings. To know that you're making an impact on the environment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much,
No
Paul,
problem.
for showing up.
Wonderful to see you guys.
Hey.
And stay in school.
Yeah. All right. I've got a captain from the DOE here who's going to introduce himself and share a little bit about what they do on the project.
Morning, Todd.
Welcome. How did it go out there this morning?
A little bit bumpy, but we actually got out today, so it was a nice change of scenery.
Yeah.
To actually get out there and be back on the field. It was nice.
Can you tell everyone who you are and what your role is at the DOE?
So my name is Jonathan Eubanks. I am employed at the Department of Environment. I've been there for about 5 years. And my job, I'm pretty much a captain and help out on all our projects we do on the sea. It changes from day to day. Nothing's ever the same. And that's the great part about the job, because it's always something different. It's never the same. And we face new challenges and new opportunities every day.
So, how long have you been a skipper? I mean, is this something that when you were a kid, you're like, I'm gonna be driving the boat, or was it something that you fell into by
Well,
accident?
I don't know. I guess sort of weird if I really look at it like that. If I guess I did all kind of different jobs on the sea. I was always on the sea. I've
Okay,
done
so you were
every
always attracted to the water.
Yeah, correct. I did everything from running boats to sport fishing to deliveries to ocean yachts to mega yachts. So
Here on Grand, is that where you grew up?
Florida.
Oh,
Well,
Florida.
I did motion mega yachts in Florida. I've done deliveries across the way, but I've done most of my operation and running boats here in Grand, and then obviously in the sister islands with these projects as well.
Wow. So if there was a student out there that's like, that's what I want to do, what would you recommend?
Well, for anyone who likes to be outdoors and doesn't like to be in an office or cooped up on a desk all day, I'd recommend it because it's always something new out there. It opens your eyes every day. You're always learning. It's always different conditions. Even if you go to the same spot, it's always different because you have different conditions. You have different variables and where you could be, the currents, the waves. So you're always learning and just keeping your eyes open. You have to, just make changes to the weather and adjust to
Yeah.
how everything goes. And what the job as a captain, your main job is to keep everyone safe at all times.
Right,
So
right.
yeah, safety first, and like I said, for anyone who likes to be outdoors, I'd recommend it.
So will you guys go back out at noon for a midday dive?
Correct. We have 3 dives planned for today, and we hopefully everything goes off as a hitch because the weather is actually calming down as we speak. And so yeah,
Fingers
we're gonna be out there
crossed.
this afternoon as well, and then we'll be out there this evening.
All right, Ebanks, thank you so much for
Thank you.
coming.
Have a good day, guys.
You guys say bye.
Bye.
All right, so I've got a really amazing video clip to share with you guys, but there is someone that took that video clip that I want to introduce you to. Is that okay, Wave?
Yeah.
Come on over. Hi, Wave. How are you?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine. Did you get to go out on the aggregation this morning?
I did, yeah.
What did you see?
We saw not as many fish as
before.
Before, yeah. We had some pretty strong current near the bottom, and
Mm.
so a lot of the fish that I saw were kind of tucked in the reef a lot more and kind of hiding out, it looked like. But I saw a big green moray eel, which was pretty
Wow.
cool. My dive buddy pointed that out. That was awesome.
Morays are so amazing. So, can you tell everyone who you are and what you're doing on the project this year?
Yeah, so my name is Wave. I am a third-year PhD student at Oregon State University. I work with Dr. Scott Pell, and
Mhm.
that's one of the labs that's out here on the project. And so I'm helping collect data. So we're swimming around. I usually have a GoPro, and I'm getting up close to the Nassau grouper, filming their patterning so that we can use that for a facial recognition project to basically be able to tell those same fish are returning to the reef year after year.
So, you'll be one of the divers that's going out like 3 times a day and counting and collecting all of the data.
Yes, yeah.
So, is it true that this is the first time you've dived in warm water?
It is. This is my first time ever diving in warm water.
How does it compare?
It's totally different. Yeah, it is.
Because it's quite cold where you're from.
Yes,
the
yeah.
water.
Yeah, usually I'm diving up in Oregon. The water is usually about 48 degrees Fahrenheit on average.
Wow.
And up here it's close to 80.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, a very big difference. It's really nice. Usually by the end of the dive, my hands are like shaking. It's hard to. I have
Your lips are
gloves on,
purple.
My lips are purple. We dive in dry suits, so we don't even actually have like water that gets on our body. But yeah, usually I'm a lot more limited, I would say, by cold than anything else.
Right.
And out here, I don't even think about the water temperature, which is really nice. And the visibility is also incredible out here. You can see.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it doesn't compare.
Yeah.
There's so much more nutrients in the water where we are.
Yeah, in Oregon, I'm lucky. Sometimes dives, I can't even see my hand in front
Like,
of me.
really? Like, not even a foot in front of you?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a little frightening to me. So I'm going to pull up a clip on Wave's very first dive. They got this amazing video that I want to share with you guys, and then we can talk about it. Let's go back out to desktop. Here we go. All right, so here we see, this is the ocean bottom. And I don't know, I'm going to rewind that so you guys can get a better look. This fish that's coming up off the bottom, this Nassau, do you see with its mouth open down? What's going on?
Yeah, so I saw this fish swimming around, and you can see in the video there's lots of other fish around it, and that caught my attention, and its mouth was all kind of poked out, and there's a pufferfish sitting in there, and so it looks like it went to eat a pufferfish, and then it puffed up in its mouth, and so its spikes are out and everything.
I've been coming on this project for 15 years. I've never seen anything like it. I've often thought, what happens if a fish eats a
Yeah,
puffer? What would
definitely.
happen? And I mean, that looks amazing. Were you
I was
surprised?
very surprised. I didn't expect, I had no idea what it was doing at first and did not expect to see a pufferfish in there at all, but it was very cool to see.
That is so amazing. You're now famous on the project. I mean, your very first year, and you're making videos that I mean, we're going to be sharing all over the place. Um, Maybe for the kids out there that are thinking marine science is maybe something I want to do, how did you get involved? What inspired you, or what was your first steps?
Oh yeah, so my first steps, I grew up not far from Santa Cruz, California, the coast, and so I'd go out there a lot with my family. And I feel like a big thing is just to really kind of take advantage of exploring your local environment, whatever that may be. For me, that was going out into kelp forests. That's what I research now, and I was always really fascinated by all of the different fish and other sea creatures that I saw in there. And we also noticed kind of over time kelp declining in the places that I lived, and so that kind of sparked a lot of curiosity in me about why that was happening, and that really led me to what I'm doing now.
So where do you think you'll go from here? Are you third year PhD? Does that mean you've already kind of chosen your specific area? So
Yeah.
what is your specific area that you're focused on in your program?
Yeah, so I am researching kelp forest fish communities off the Oregon coast, looking at how many fish are there, what kinds of fish live there, and how do they respond to changes in kelp abundance and other kind of environmental factors. And kind of more long term with that, I guess,
Yeah.
I'm really interested in how we can better manage our nearshore ecosystem. So that's things like kelp forests, coral reefs, anything kind of close to shore, and better ways to monitor on scuba or other methods,
Yeah.
and improving that.
Well, that's so cool. Thank you so much for coming out and sharing
Yeah.
this with us, and I look forward to seeing more amazing clips.
Totally. I
From
hope
you.
I can get some more.
Yeah, let's get some more. All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
All right, you guys. If any of you have questions, now would be the time. You can unmute yourselves, or you can type them into the chat. I'm going to pull up a couple more videos. I've pulled together some highlight clips that have been taken this year on the SPAG so far that I wanted to share with you. So let me pull up a couple of those real quick, and then we will wrap it up for the day. Okay, so here is a shot of the aggregation. So this is an up-close shot of those fish out there on the east end of Little Cayman. And it's hard to tell, but those fish are enormous, like 3 feet, some even bigger than that. I mean, just giant, and there's thousands of them out there. Really beautiful. Let's take another look. I believe we've got one with a shark in it. Let's see if we can see the sharks, because like Dr. Bryce Simmons was talking about, this is, seeing sharks is now quite common on the aggregation. So here's another pan of the aggregation, and oh, there is a shark right there. Beautiful. That looks like a nurse shark out there. Amazing. And you see that those NASA are all hunkered down there on the bottom. A lot of them are getting cleaned. They have cleaning stations down there, and while the fish are on the aggregation, they're not doing their normal behavior. They're not eating, they're just hanging out, getting ready to reproduce. And because they're using so much more energy, they get parasites on them, dead skin starts to build up, and they go down to those cleaning stations and they get all cleaned up. It's a visit to the car wash. And it's important for them to do that so they can stay healthy and fit to continue and to have the spawning that's going to happen hopefully tonight. Tonight is the third night after the full moon, and often that is when they spawn, although it could be tomorrow, the next night. We will wait and see. But that's all for us for today, you guys. Thank you all, everyone that was able to make it. Remember, tomorrow we will have our third live stream, and tomorrow's live stream will be underwater. Dr. Bryce Simmons will be wearing an AGA face mask and is going to go under the water, and we'll be talking to you and sharing all of the amazing stuff that's down there. You're going to get to go on a dive in your classroom. It'll be amazing. And one last thing, remember to check out the Grouper Moon blog. All of your teachers have the link for that, and I'm posting all sorts of videos and pictures and behind the scenes stuff on the Grouper Moon project. So be sure to check all that out. And we will see you guys tomorrow on the Grouper Moon project. Have a great day. See ya.